"What's with the girl in rags? This ain't a shelter," the cashier said with a sneer, and that's when Zeke Tiller froze, donut bag in hand. 3 days earlier, Zeke hadn't planned on walking into any of his 10 bakery locations. He was in the middle of planning a new product launch, buried in spreadsheets and supplier meetings. But the numbers from one store, the Oak Ridge branch, hadn't made sense for months. Sales were steady, but customer retention was dropping, and staff turnover was oddly high for a quiet suburban area. He'd brought the bakery chain 5 years ago from an aging couple who were retiring. He'd kept the name and most of the recipes, but poured in money to modernize everything: new ovens, better ingredients, a full benefits package for full-timers. He thought he was taking care of his people. Still, something felt off. "I've had enough of second-hand reports," he told his assistant last week. "I'll go myself." Zeke was in his early 40s, tall, with sharp gray eyes and a voice people listened to, but not today. Today, he wore a faded hoodie, jeans with paint stains, and a beanie that covered most of his salt and pepper hair. He even wore fake glasses. No one at Oak Ridge had ever met him. It was a corporate chain now, and he only dealt with district managers directly. Most of the store staff probably didn't even know what he looked like. He walked in just before noon on a Saturday. The place was busy: mothers with kids, teens grabbing snacks, a few older folks sipping coffee. The display case was full, but the energy behind the counter was tense. 2 employees, one older man and a young woman, were scrambling to keep up while a third leaned against the wall, scrolling on her phone. "Next," the young woman said, brushing a loose curl out of her face. Her name tag read Maya. Zeke stepped forward. "I'll take 2 of those cinnamon twists and a large black coffee." Maya nodded, moving fast. "That'll be $6.75, just a second." Zeke watched her. She had a cut on her hand, probably from one of the trays, and no one had bothered to give her a glove. The guy in the back, probably the baker, was muttering about a broken mixer, but no one responded. "Can I get help with this line?" Maya called over her shoulder. The woman on her phone, tall, with a tight ponytail and a scowl, didn't even look up. "I'm on break." "You've been on break since I got here," Maya said, voice tight. "Don't start with me," the woman snapped. "I'm a supervisor. I'll take my break when I want." Zeke bit his tongue. He took his coffee, stepped aside, and sat near the window. He wasn't ready to reveal himself yet. He needed to see more. 10 minutes passed. The line shortened. Maya moved fast, polite to every customer. The supervisor finally dragged herself behind the counter, only to roll her eyes at an older man asking about gluten-free options. Then the bell over the door jingled. A girl walked in, maybe 17, maybe younger. She had stringy blonde hair, a flannel shirt 2 sizes too big, jeans stained with mud. She didn't look up as she stepped forward, hands shaking slightly as she reached into her jacket pocket. "Can I get the day-olds?" she asked softly. The supervisor didn't even hide her disgust. "You got money?" The girl pulled out a handful of coins. "It's all I got. I just need something." Zeke leaned forward, heart pounding. "We're not a soup kitchen," the supervisor said loud enough for the whole shop to hear. "You can't just walk in here looking like that and expect free food." I wasn't asking for free," the girl said, eyes darting around. "Just the leftovers." "You smell like you've been sleeping in a dumpster," the supervisor snapped. "You're making customers uncomfortable." "You need to leave." Zeke stood up before he even realized it. Maya stepped in first. "Wait, I'll pay for her," she said, reaching into her apron. "She's not hurting anyone." The supervisor blocked her. "You pay for one, they all come. She's not our problem." Zeke stepped forward. "I'll pay," he said calmly. "Give her whatever she wants." The girl looked up at him, startled. "You don't have to, I want to," Zeke said. The supervisor turned to him, eyes narrowed. "Who even are you?" "Just someone who doesn't like seeing people treated like trash," he said. He handed Maya a 20. "Give her what she wants and keep the rest." Maya nodded and quickly filled a box with donuts, adding a bottle of water. She handed it to the girl with a quiet, "Take care, okay?" The girl looked at her and whispered, "Thank you." As she left, Zeke watched the supervisor walk off, muttering under her breath. He turned to Maya. Thanks for doing the right thing. She gave a tired smile. Someone had to. Zeke looked around. The baker was still working with a broken mixer. The supervisor had vanished again. Customers were starting to whisper. He took one last sip of his coffee, then walked out silently. He had seen enough. Tomorrow he was coming back, but not as a customer. The next morning, Zeke left his apartment before sunrise. He wore the same beanie and hoodie, but this time added a fake name tag with the name Dylan printed on it. He'd pulled strings through corporate to get himself listed as a new trainee on the Oak Ridge schedule, no questions asked. It helped that he still owned the system everyone used to clock in. When he walked in through the back entrance, the air smelled faintly of burned sugar and bleach. The prep station counters were already streaked with flour and chocolate drizzle. The early shift had clearly started without any real cleanup from the night crew. A wiry man with a shaved head and a limp was kneading dough at the far table. He didn't look up. "Who are you?" he asked, not pausing his rhythm. "New hire." "Dylan," Zeke said, holding up the tag. "Starting today." The man gave a shrug. "Hope you don't mind doing 4 jobs. I'm Nate, been here since 4, Zeke nodded. "Where's the manager?" Nate gave a short laugh. "Still asleep, probably." "You'll meet her when she decides to show." It was 20 minutes before the front door opened, and the same supervisor from yesterday walked in, this time in a wrinkled polo and holding a smoothie. She didn't acknowledge anyone, just tossed her bag under the counter and glanced at the schedule on the wall. "Great, another newbie," she muttered. "Try not to slow things down." Nate muttered something under his breath, too low for her to hear. Zeke caught it. "Try not to exist, basically." Zeke spent the first hour shadowing Nate. The guy clearly knew his stuff. His bread rose perfectly. His prep was efficient, but he moved with the stiffness of someone who hadn't had a proper break in weeks. When Zeke offered to take over a batch of fillings, Nate simply nodded and stepped aside, eyes drooping. "I'm supposed to be off tomorrow," Nate said eventually, "but she already said I need to cover again." "Why don't you say no?" Zeke asked, keeping his tone casual. "Because the last guy who said no got his hours cut to 12 a week," Nate replied. "I got a kid, can't afford to play games." Zeke's jaw tightened. He didn't respond. By 8, the doors opened to customers. Maya arrived soon after, tying her apron on as she walked. Her eyes were red, like she hadn't slept. After offering a quiet morning, she got straight to work, checking the register's float and wiping down the display case. The woman from yesterday, her badge now visible as Tanya, barely glanced at her. "You're late." Maya looked at the clock. "It's 7:58. I said earlier today, we're short." "You didn't tell me that yesterday." "You should assume it by now," Tanya said, turning to leave. Zeke stepped forward. "Want me to help Maya at the front? I've worked registers before." Tanya looked him up and down. "Stick to dishes for now. We don't need customers seeing someone that scruffy behind the counter." Zeke didn't respond. He grabbed a towel and started on the trays. By mid-morning, the lobby was buzzing. A group of high school kids came in, followed by a young couple with a toddler. Maya handled them all calmly, but Zeke noticed her flinch when a customer asked about a refund on an overcooked apple fritter. She called Tanya over. The refund took less than 2 minutes, but Tanya drew it out, accusing the customer of exaggerating before finally muttering, "Fine, just take it." When the woman left, Tanya turned to Maya. "If you keep calling me out here for every complaint, I'll move you back to prep." "You want that?" "No, I just then deal with it." Zeke kept scrubbing a tray, but his eyes locked on Tanya. Her tone wasn't just harsh, it was calculated. She wanted people afraid to speak up. Later, a delivery driver arrived with a shipment of flour and sugar. Zeke offered to help, and the guy handed him the clipboard. "Y'all are still short-staffed, huh? Been 2 weeks now." "Yeah," Zeke said, signing for the order. "Any idea why?" The driver leaned in slightly. "Heard the last 2 hires quit after Tanya cussed them out on day 3. One of them called HR, nothing happened." Zeke thanked him and returned inside. By noon, the lunch crowd surged. Tanya finally stepped behind the counter, but only to bark orders. "Move faster, Maya." "You're holding us up." I've got 2 hands, Tanya. Then use them better. Zeke saw Maya's hands trembling as she rang up a customer. She got through the line, then walked into the back for a breather. Zeke followed. You all right? He asked, keeping his voice low. She sat on an overturned milk crate, rubbing her eyes. I used to love this job, she said. Then she got promoted. Every day's a test now. Zeke leaned against the wall. You ever think of quitting? I'm saving for nursing school, can't afford to. But I don't know how much longer I can do this. Zeke nodded once, then headed back out. Around one, a woman in a navy pantsuit walked in with 2 small kids. Zeke recognized her corporate quality assurance. She was on rotation, checking random locations. Tanya, seeing her, immediately changed demeanor. Welcome, let me know if there's anything I can assist with, she said, voice suddenly syrupy. The woman raised an eyebrow. I'll just observe, thanks. Maya returned to the front, still tense but composed. Zeke watched as Tanya hovered behind her, correcting things that didn't need correcting, cutting Maya off mid-sentence when greeting customers, even adjusting her collar in front of people. The QA rep didn't say much, but she watched everything. When the rush slowed, Tanya walked over to Zeke. You, new guy, clean the bathrooms. Zeke nodded and took the key. When he entered, the place was disgusting, overflowing trash, soap dispenser broken, paper towels scattered. He spent 20 minutes scrubbing it down, then returned to find Nate arguing with Tanya. You said I could leave at 2. I need you till close. You can't just change my shift like that. I can do whatever I want if no one else shows up. Nate looked like he was about to explode. Zeke stepped between them. I'll stay, let Nate go. Tanya crossed her arms. And who said you get to make that call? I didn't, I'm just offering. Tanya turned back to Nate. Fine, but you're opening tomorrow. Nate walked out without a word. Tanya didn't even watch him go. Zeke worked the rest of the shift beside Maya. The 2 of them handled the prep, the counter, and the cleaning. Tanya disappeared into the office for most of the afternoon, only emerging to criticize. At 6, a homeless man came in, asking if there were any leftovers. Zeke saw my glance at Tanya, then back at the man. Sorry, she said softly, we can't give anything out. The man nodded and left without complaint. Zeke didn't say anything. He just watched as Maya turned away, eyes shining. At closing, Tanya sauntered out of the office. Dylan, you can mop. Maya, trash. I'll be back in 20 minutes. I've got errands. She left before anyone could respond. Zeke and Maya cleaned in silence. When the last table was wiped, Maya sank into a chair. Feels like we're always just surviving the day. Zeke sat across from her. Would you stay if things changed? She looked at him carefully. Maybe. If I could just do my job without being treated like dirt. He nodded once. I'll see you tomorrow, he said, standing. She looked up. Thanks for helping. Zeke walked out into the cooling evening air, rage and resolve pulling tight in his chest. Tomorrow, Tanya was going to meet the real owner. Zeke arrived at the Oak Ridge Bakery just before 8 the next morning, this time dressed in a pressed navy button-down, slacks and leather shoes. His beard was trimmed, his posture sharp, and the air around him had changed. No hoodie, no fake name tag. He walked in through the front door and didn't stop at the register. Maya glanced up from the coffee machine and froze. Her hand paused mid-pour. Nate, just clocking out from the overnight prep shift, caught sight of Zeke and straightened up, brow furrowed. His apron was stained with powdered sugar and sweat, and he carried a tiredness that no amount of caffeine could fix. Tanya wasn't visible. Zeke took a slow breath and raised his voice, not loud but firm. Can I speak to all staff in the lobby right now, please? Meyer exchanged a glance with Nate, who looked at the clock and hesitated. What's going on? Zeke folded his hands in front of him. I'll explain in a moment, but I need everyone present. Tanya's voice came from the back hallway. What is this, a fire drill? She entered the lobby with a half-eaten muffin in one hand and her phone in the other. She didn't even look up until she nearly collided with Zeke. She blinked, confused. Wait, weren't you the dishwasher yesterday? Zeke met her eyes coldly. No, I'm Zeke Tiller. I own this bakery and 9 others just like it. The room fell silent. Maya took a step back. Nate's mouth parted slightly, but he said nothing. Tanya's expression didn't change right away, a pause, then a laugh as if trying to play it off. "You're messing with me." Zeke didn't flinch. "No. I went undercover because I couldn't trust the numbers coming out of this location. What I saw here the last 2 days confirmed my worst suspicions." Tanya's eyes darted to Maya, then Nate. She adjusted her shirt collar. "Whatever they told you, I've been running this place practically alone. Staff keeps quitting without notice. I've been doing my best. I watched you ignore customers, berate your coworkers, and humiliate a young girl who walked in asking for leftovers," Zeke said, voice steady. "You've created a toxic environment where people are afraid to speak up. That ends today." Tanya's posture stiffened. "Hold on. You can't just walk in and fire me without warning." "I'm not giving a warning," Zeke said. "You're done, effective immediately." She opened her mouth, but he raised a hand. "You called a teenage girl garbage in front of a room full of customers. You've been clocking extended breaks while your coworkers are drowning. You pressured an employee to cancel time off to cover your absence. That's not leadership. That's abuse." Tanya's tone sharpened. "You don't know what it's like. Corporate never sends enough people." "I approve every labor budget personally," Zeke interrupted. "You've had the hours. You chose not to use them properly." She stared at him, speechless now. Zeke turned to Maya. "Would you mind calling district HR and letting them know we need a termination packet sent over? Use the back office. I'll cover the front." Maya nodded once, then walked toward the back, still visibly processing what had just happened. Tanya slowly reached for her bag under the counter. She didn't say anything as she left. The door closed behind her with a dull thud. Zeke turned to Nate. "You're off the clock. You need rest. Go home." Nate blinked. "You're serious?" "Yes, you've been holding this place together with duct tape and grit. It's not your job to carry the full weight." Nate nodded slowly, then walked out into the morning sun, his shoulders looser than they'd been in weeks. Zeke stayed behind the counter until Maya returned. She looked at him cautiously. "They're sending over the documents," she said. "Do you want me to help open for the day?" He shook his head. "Let's keep the doors closed for the next hour. Sit with me." They sat at a corner table, far enough from the windows to avoid drawing attention. Zeke leaned forward. "How long has this been going on?" Maya hesitated. "Since Tanya got promoted, it was small things at first, favoritism, ignoring people who asked for help, then it got worse. She started threatening hours if we spoke up. I needed the job. You never filed a complaint. I tried, once, got sent to voicemail. I figured no one cared." Zeke exhaled through his nose. "That's on me." She looked up. "You didn't know." "I should have," he said. "If my people don't feel safe speaking up, I've failed." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. Zeke stood. "We're going to restructure this store's management." "But I'd like your help." Maya blinked. "My help? I need someone who understands what's been happening here, someone who isn't afraid to do the right thing, even when it's hard. I want you to help shape the new training policies going forward, not just here company-wide." Maya looked stunned. "I don't even know where to start." "I'll walk you through it," he said. "But it starts with honesty, fairness, and making sure no one gets discarded like that girl yesterday." Maya nodded slowly. "What about the staff?" "Half of them are either burned out or hanging on by a thread. We're going to bring in support, temporary transfers from other stores, paid training days, and you'll decide who steps up into leadership roles here." She looked at him, uncertain. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." For the rest of the morning, they worked side by side. Zeke called in backup from 2 nearby stores to cover lunch. Maya walked them through the flow of the day. She didn't raise her voice once, but people listened. Around noon, Zeke stepped outside and made a call to the regional HR director. "No more anonymous hotlines," he said. "I want every store to have a named contact, someone employees can reach directly with guaranteed follow-up." When he hung up, he saw a familiar figure across the street. The girl in the oversized flannel stood near a bus bench, clutching a bundle of clothes. She looked thinner than before. Zeke crossed the street. "Hey," he said gently. She looked up, startled, but didn't run. I don't want anything, he added. Just wanted to say I'm sorry for how you were treated. She looked down at her shoes. I'm Zeke. I own that bakery. Her eyes widened. Oh, I should have spoken up sooner. You deserved better. She looked at him, unsure. He reached into his coat pocket and offered her a card. This is a prepaid food voucher. You can use it at any of the stores. No limit, no expiration. Just go to the counter and show it. She took it carefully. Why are you doing this? Because I watched someone get dehumanized in a place I was supposed to have built with care. And I'm not going to let that happen again. She nodded once, eyes glassy. As she turned, Zeke said softly, if you ever need work, ask for Maya. She'll know what to do. He returned to the bakery. The line was beginning to form. Inside, the team was moving together, no shouting, no tension. Just rhythm and focus. Zeke slipped behind the prep counter and grabbed a rolling tray. Maya caught his eye. You're not leaving? Not yet, he said, sliding the tray into the oven. There's still work to do. And for the first time in a long while, it finally felt like the company he'd built was becoming the company he meant it to be. It took 4 full days to stabilize the Oak Ridge store. Zeke returned daily, not as an undercover trainee, but as a present and accountable owner, someone who no longer assumed the systems he'd built would take care of people without oversight. He didn't stay behind a desk or issue updates through memos. He stayed in the store, shoulder to shoulder with the staff, sleeves rolled up, flour under his nails. He brought in 2 assistant managers from other locations on short-term assignments. Both had reputations for quiet competence and no tolerance for ego. They rotated between the morning and evening shifts, filling gaps left by Tanya's absence while Zeke conducted on-site interviews for a permanent replacement. He made it known. No internal promotion would come without anonymous peer feedback from the team first. Maya worked every shift she was scheduled for, but Zeke insisted she take her breaks in full, no more skipping meals or eating standing up. When she finally got a full day off midweek, she left quietly, almost uncertain that it wouldn't be taken back. It wasn't. On Thursday afternoon, after the lunch rush thinned out, Zeke sat with her at the back booth in the corner, the one no customers ever used because the window was cracked near the base and leaked cold air in the winter. He'd had the maintenance crew fix it that morning. He handed her a folder. These are the revised policies. I want your input before we roll them out. She opened it slowly, scanning the first few pages. You're introducing peer evaluations for shift leads. It's long overdue, Zeke said, sipping his tea. Managers get evaluated from above but rarely from below. That ends now. Maya flipped to the next page, and this conflict reporting goes directly to the regional HR manager, not through store leadership. That's right, she looked up. You're cutting out the filter. I'm cutting out the silence, Zeke said. People shouldn't have to weigh job security against telling the truth. She nodded, then tapped a section further down. What's this? Paid decompression leave? For staff who have been working over 40 hours a week for more than a month straight. They'll get 2 paid days to reset, no questions, no penalties. Her voice was soft. That would have made such a difference. He met her eyes. That's why I'm putting it in now. Later that day, Nate came in to pick up his paycheck in person, a rare break from his usual habit of letting direct deposit do the work. He wore a clean jacket, and for the first time, Zeke noticed he didn't have the slight limp anymore, just a careful, even walk. Got a minute? Nate asked, glancing toward the office. Zeke stood up from the counter where he'd been helping reorganize the dry goods shelf. Of course. They stepped into the office. Nate closed the door. I've had a few days to think, he said. And I wanted to say thank you for stepping in before I said something I'd regret. You shouldn't have been put in that position at all, Zeke replied. Nate leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You know, I used to run a kitchen. Small place. Things went under during the lockdowns. This was supposed to be temporary, Zeke waited. But you stuck around, he said, because I needed the paycheck. But also because I saw something here before Tanya took over. It used to feel like we were building something. Zeke let a moment pass. Do you want to be part of rebuilding it? Nate's brow lifted slightly. What are you offering? Zeke handed him a printed packet. Full-time kitchen lead, no front-end duties unless you volunteer. You set the baking schedule, get a say in hiring new prep staff, and I'll match the pay you were making at your old kitchen plus benefits. Nate flipped the first page, then looked up. That's generous. It's fair, Zeke said. But only if you're in. Nate smiled, not wide, just enough to show the weariness was lifting. I'm in. By the following Monday, the rhythm of the store had shifted. There were no dramatic transformations. No one danced through the aisles or sang out orders, but people moved with more certainty. They looked each other in the eye. Maya started adding handwritten notes to the customer order bags, simple things like, "Hope your meeting goes well," or "Thanks for being patient." The changes didn't go unnoticed. A customer left a comment card on Tuesday. Staff seemed calmer today. It made my coffee taste better. On Wednesday, a woman who'd been a regular but stopped coming in months ago returned with her son. "Glad you're still here," she said to Maya when she recognized her. "I stopped coming after that tall woman snapped at me for asking about allergy info. Thought maybe the whole place had changed." Maya glanced toward Zeke, who was restocking lids. He didn't interrupt. "It feels different now," the woman said. "You all seem human again." Thursday afternoon, a new hire arrived for training. Her name was Lena, fresh out of high school, nervous but eager. Maya trained her herself. Zeke watched from a distance as Maya walked her through the register, never raising her voice, never rushing. She used a calm, even tone, nodding when Lena made mistakes, correcting gently. "It's okay," Maya said. "I messed up way worse my first week." Zeke stepped into the back to give them space. Late that evening, after the last customer left and the shades were drawn, Maya approached the prep table where Zeke was sorting inventory. "I saw her again," she said. Zeke looked up. "Who?" "The girl from last week. She was sitting across the street earlier, didn't come in." Zeke set down a box of powdered sugar. "Did she see you?" "I think so." I waved. "She didn't wave back." Zeke nodded. "She might not be ready." Maya hesitated. I hope she knows it's better now." "She will," Zeke said. "People notice when things change, not all at once, but they feel it." Maya looked at the floor, then took a breath. "I used to think you were just another owner who didn't care." "I earned that," Zeke said. She smiled a little. "But you're here, still." "I plan to stay involved," he said. "I've let distance turn into damage before, not anymore." The last of the cleaning was done by 9. The team gathered near the front, waiting as Zeke counted the register. As he finished and locked the drawer, he turned to them. "I'm not going to make a speech," he said. "But I want to say one thing. The way this store runs from now on, that's up to all of you. Not just your leads, not just upper management. If something's wrong, speak up. If someone's struggling, ask how to help. If someone crosses a line, tell someone. This is your workplace. I just signed the lease." No applause followed, just a quiet, steady understanding as they filed out. Maya paused at the door. "See you tomorrow?" she asked. Zeke nodded. "You will." She pushed the door open and stepped into the evening chill. Zeke stayed behind, turning off the lights one by one, walking the perimeter of the store slowly. The tiled floor, the humming fridge, the scent of cinnamon still lingering in the air, it all felt familiar again. Not perfect, not fixed, but honest. And finally worth coming back to.